Good morning and welcome to LogiSYM Asia Pacific 2021. With me is today Mr. Hock Meng, CFO and CEO of HEM IMS, an Avant innovative medical solutions company. He will be talking about the presentation and share a number of case studies in which AI and automation technology have been successfully adopted, as well as the issues and challenges in the transformation process. It revolves on extract from the lessons learned and what companies should do differently to manage these transformation projects. I'm looking very much forward to Mr. Meng, to your presentation.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Very good morning to everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you very much to the organizers of LogiSYM Asia Pacific 2021. It has actually been a very interesting event. I watched a number of sessions yesterday, and I found them very exciting and very insightful. Thank you very much to Oliver for the panel session just before this. It was really very useful, and the amount of interest that we see both from the provider and the user end, that's very interesting. A very quick introduction to myself. My name is very long, so I usually ask people to call me Meng. I'm from an organization called Duospark Resources Private Limited. We have offices in Malaysia and Singapore, and we focus on three main areas. One, which is logistics transporter management system, a solution called LogFlows. We also have a workforce planning and management solution. And we do have a focus on cybersecurity, but primarily on the human firewall. Reason being that 70% of data breaches, as per the FBI, is because of a breach of the human firewall. So our solutions are mainly focused around the human firewall. Logistics is one of those very significant portion of the supply chain. Very often it's described as the operating system of the supply chain, and we saw that happening especially in the last year or so, and in the last month or so with the Suez Canal incident. Without going into the big definition of what logistics is, basically it is really the management of the flow of goods to meet the 7 R's of logistics. In terms of function, we have multi-facet functions. We have transportation, warehousing, the role of 3PL and 4PL logistics. And in this day and age, especially when we talk about product stewardship, sustainable development, and carbon footprint, return logistics is also playing a very important part, especially with the advent of e-commerce. With transportation, there are multi-modes of transportation. There's road, rail, sea, air, with varying load capacity requirements, inbound, outbound. So in terms of logistics management, it's very much about finding the most efficient, most effective, and especially most cost effective method of transportation. Warehousing is a multifaceted area as well, and 3PL and 4PL logistics obviously plays a very important part in the entire supply chain. These are only my estimates, so shoot me if I'm wrong. I did this doing a bit of triangulation from various sources of publicly available data. So in terms of Asia Pacific, I would estimate that Asia Pacific is about 40% of the global logistics market, which is a fairly significant chunk. In terms of compound annual growth rate, we are looking at about 6.5% in 10 years, between 2017 to 2027. So we're looking at a potentially 5.8 trillion market size for Asia Pacific alone by 2027. The reason why numbers are important to me is because I'm an ex-CFO, even though I haven't been a CFO for a long time. Really, it's about the size of the cake and the size of the price. And obviously, the two elephants in the room are China and India, because they would make up the biggest chunk of the Asia-Pacific logistics market. What are the challenges that we face? There are a number of major players in the market, but my experience is that a lot of these major players have actually shared footprints within countries. And what they do is they actually have local contractors, subcontractors, who provide warehousing, freight forwarding, inbound, outbound, haulage, distribution center services, and even last mile. And one of the discussions that we had yesterday was very much around visibility. Tier 1 visibility, less of an issue. Visibility is quite high. However, once we reach tier 2, it becomes very much less visible. So that becomes a real challenge for the industry, because being such an important part of the supply chain, visibility is very important. Then we have to deal with cross-border logistics, navigating trade agreements. We have the sustainable development and carbon footprint challenges. And the experience of COVID has resulted in not just challenges at that point, but the ongoing recovery challenges. It has highlighted the vulnerability of supply chain, logistics chain. Trade wars have become a very much part of our vocabulary. And in the recovery process, we are seeing a mismatch of trade flows, resulting in bottlenecks. So, for example, shortage of containers, because trade is flowing from one major player to the rest of the world, but not coming back. And then recently we had the system shock, which is really the Suez Canal exercise. The one that really touches my heart is really manpower, mainly because I come from Malaysia, but also having gone through and understood the entire ecosystem, there is really a real challenge of finding people, not just people doing the tough work. You have lack of manpower in terms of warehousing, logistics, port, air cargo handling. But more than that, we also have manpower difficulty in areas of planning and coordination, which is actually very crucial for the success of logistics. And moving into the new economy, we do have a shortage of people in the IT sector, people with the right skill sets to enable providers to move to the next level. We have seen a huge reshaping of last mile brought about by e-commerce growth. We have high volume, high numbers, small package sizes, faster delivery points, delivery times, and multiple delivery points. And of course, year to year, there's always that challenge. Deliver at lower costs, shorter delivery times, better availability or uptime, and faster service. So we talk about using IT to help us improve the logistics process. And every time you mention IT, people, artificial intelligence, the first, unfortunately, Hollywood has shaped our view, and people see Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator. But really, artificial intelligence is about getting the computer to learn as we do, do as we do, only faster and smarter. And that's one area where we want IT to actually help us to improve our processes. Obviously, there's discussion around cognitive ability, etc. But I rather focus on narrow intelligence rather than a general intelligence for the time being. So what is how does artificial intelligence help us? We have a number of key technologies which have all come together and in convergence. We have the Internet of Things in logistics. So we have GPS in vehicles. We have sensors, cold chain, etc. Tracking devices in all the different modes of transport. We have big data. We have data collected from the Internet of Things. We have data from OT, and we have data from history. Arguably, it's a question of which data is useful. However, whether data from Excel spreadsheets, for example, are still relevant for big data and data analytics, whether all these data can then be used through machine learning, through neural networks, in order to come up with decision-making process that will be useful and productive for us in the supply chain. This is a summary which I borrowed from Unity. So credit to Unity. As you can see, there are actually many moving parts in supply chain, right? In the entire sphere or environment. I think I was very intrigued because in his session, Oliver Tian asked this question: do we have a choice? Tough question. Do we have a choice? There's no escaping the fact that technology is affecting our lives more and more each day. And it is shaping our culture, not just our human culture, but also shaping our work culture across the world, and is shaping it in a very unparalleled manner. And this is especially true in the area of logistics, right? The key question to me to ask is, how can we use this to our benefit? How do we move from just being a consumer of many of these technologies to creators, and in order to generate value for organizations? Right? It is very clear in logistics that there are many moving parts. There are many different types of technologies. There are many solution providers. And in the panel discussion, we were talking about, the sheer complexity of the many moving parts and moving systems, and really potentially we are looking at some kind of confederation or commonwealth of ecosystems, either through the use of APIs or EDIs, in order to transfer information so that competitors can work with each other in an environment where the logistics is growing at a phenomenal pace, right? So just looking at one aspect of logistics, just looking at road transportation alone, right? With road transportation, we have freight forwarding, we have haulage, inbound, outbound clearance, we have the customer, we have the consumer, and all the expectations that you can that they will have. I've just listed down, literally brainstormed all the expectations I would have both as a consumer and as a user of these technologies, and it's just phenomenal. It just boggles the mind how much is really required. And the question that's always asked is obviously buy or build, right? And for people who are investing in these technologies, the question is, how much does it cost? What is the return on investment? And more importantly is, how do I do it, right? What do I need to do? More often than not, from my conversations with customers, is they are really looking for a roadmap. They are looking for what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, who's going to do it, and how are we going to roll this out throughout the organization. There is a reflexive instinct that people know that technology can improve their business, but at the same time are cognizant of the fact that they do not want to make too many changes that would affect the workflow or work processes of the human. So what do we do? Do we build or do we buy? There are several questions that we need to ask. In order to have a logistics management solution, do we invest in people? Can we find the data scientists? Can we find the specialists in AI, machine learning, or neural networks? And can we find specialists in APIs? Because every provider has their own solution or a legacy system that they have been working off. And the cost involved in moving away from that system is in one single swoop is actually very expensive. So in terms of best-in-class solutions, I would propose a software as a solution or system as a solution, because it means less capex, more opex. It's scalable. It'll increase in size as usage increases. Cloud-based, because that limits, that controls the amount of hardware investment required. Mobile first, because technology-wise, web and mobile are the key things now, which are the drivers for technology. Robotic process automation and AI. Robotic process automation is important because of the sheer volume of documents that need to be processed, and AI to make decisions that a human would make, and in some events under extreme duress. The solution that we have, I'm not pushing the solution, but I'm just using it as an example. The solution we have consists of several different modules which are relevant. So we have order management, which is RPA, robotic process automation. So all the orders come into the system, and then decisions are taken in terms of what needs to be done, passed on to capacity planning and route planning, where decisions are made in terms of optimal loading of vehicles, selection of drivers, who are then informed via mobile applications of the task required for them. There's a vehicle management module, which is really very much around capacity planning, maintenance scheduling, and all the administrative aspects opposite vehicles. Very important is rate management, where the rate cards can be loaded and calculated both for accounts payable and accounts receivable at the end of the day. Then the customer portal for visibility and warehousing, interim warehouse or WMS solution. I'll go to the case study because we're running a bit short on time. The first case study is very interesting because it involves a retailer who sells furniture and does home delivery and provides assembly service. They have a legacy ERP system which is designed mainly for material handling, stock control, but not so much for the customer end, the delivery end of the business. So just a very quick manual picture of what they were doing. Fairly complex. They have up to 6 contractors with multiple drivers who are assigned by the contractors on a daily basis. The routes vary daily and the loads vary daily per route, depending on obviously the consumer. Very dependent on supervisors' experience. We had a discussion earlier on work drivers who are who are given too much to do because they're either too good or too dependable. And last but not least, the consumer being given time range. So I've just been given a time warning. So manually, they had online store sales information being transferred to the logistics team. All that information is given either in PDF or Excel. The subcontractors will then get phone calls as well as Excel spreadsheets. They have to pick up documents to send to the consumer, and information is the customer service becomes like the middleman between the logistics team and the consumer. With the implementation of AI then makes the decision. ERP to order management, it determines the customer requirements, the picking order, and any particular request that the customer has. The planning tool then decides which drivers to assign, which routes to use, and actually sends the documentation, e-documents, to the mobile phone of the driver. And the driver is then alerted on the jobs, where to pick up, what time to pick up, and where to deliver. And all the information, for example, EPOD is then made available on the spot. So customer service has a control tower view of the entire process. They know where all the moving parts are, and they know where all the bottlenecks potentially are. As a result, truck utilization is higher, reduction in paperwork, lower carbon footprint, and obviously a better consumer experience. The last case study is actually a bit more complex because it involves Crossborder. It's a large Japanese trading company with quite a number of logistics companies as affiliates throughout the region. They transport car parts and finished vehicles. They have large storage requirements because obviously vehicles take up a lot more space than furniture. They do cross-border, ship to shore, ship to storage, and storage to ship loading. And being Japanese, they have their Kanban and JIT systems all in place. So all the moving parts have to be done manually. If you see the boards, they're all manually managed by the team over a large area. And that adds to the challenge of complexity. They have whiteboards, they have Excel spreadsheets. What using AI has done is actually enables them to then have a control tower view of every single point on their map. So every single affiliate company is now a logistics point for them, and everything is made visible. So what AI has enabled them to do is effectively plan their capacity, manage the flow of parts and vehicles, and basically it's taken a manual and very complex operating scenario and managing it very effectively using AI tools.
Meng,
So,
your presentation has been off.
sorry?
Your presentation slides are off. Is that on purpose?
No, I'm still. Which slides were off?
Well, the last slides went offline. I just noticed that you're not presenting anymore, but I assume that you still have the case studies.
The last case study is this one. Can you see my slide?
No, at the moment we are on video to the audience.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Maybe my track is ended, so I'm off. Anyway, I'll share the slides with everybody. The last case study was very much. I'm so sorry, KS. Okay, I'll share my slides with afterwards. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll move to Q&A.
Yes, we are coming towards the end. So first of all, Meng, thank you very much for the session and for sharing that. My questions would be pretty much is you said the key challenges on getting the starting point set up. What are the practical approach for people to overcome these challenges in regards of implementation, yeah, towards the people involved in the process, because the human people are they like to do things as they used to do, and suddenly they have to do it differently. How normally these transformation projects being driven forward?
Okay. The experience we've had is we do start with an overview. We do an overview presentation to management as well as to staff to explain what the solution is and what are the key benefits that they will get from the solution. That the first thing we try to do is we try to get buy-in. Then the next step is we do a pilot. So we'll pick a few super users whom we will then train and implement specifically for them. Super users are actually quite important because they are the ones who will get other people on board. They will become the reference point within the organization. We normally ask the organization to identify the super users for us because they will know who are the earlier adopters of technology and who are the ones that will benefit the most and be able to become the key reference point within the organization.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate your reply. Thank you to the audience for listening in to Mr. Hock Meng and the presentation about the case studies and implementation for AI technology.
I apologize for the slides going off. I don't even know which slide went off.
We will make them available offline, and the recording as well on the website, so for the audience to listen in again. I will closing the session now. Thank you very much again for
Thank you very much.
tuning in.
Thank you, everybody.
And we will go ahead with the next panel discussion, Smart Cities, a Foundation for Industry 4.0, in the next couple of minutes. Thank you very much. Stay tuned. Bye.